Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod.
All right, well, welcome into the Flagstick Podcast. The podcast. I'm Jeff Potter. He's Scott McLeod, and podcast is brought to you this week by Srixon Golf. Srixon performance is more than just a number. It's a feeling, one that starts at the forge. Introducing ZXi irons with iForge, a groundbreaking achievement in shaping, pressing, and heating that's taken Srixon feel to an entirely new level. ZXi irons from Srixon, how forge should feel. Visit srixon.ca for more information and for the full lineup of Srixon products. Well, we certainly do know, but we hope also that you're following us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. And of course, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. I can't encourage you enough to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell to make sure that you never miss anything that we put up there. Stuff's going up there all the time, and more stuff's coming. I guarantee you that.
What's going on? What's going on, Jeffrey?
It's kind of mad. I was excited when I saw your little outline for the show this week. It's like, look what we're doing here. We're going turn of the century stuff here. We're going back with the Wayback Machine.
Well, here's why. I figured it's 25 years, and we'll get to exactly what we're talking about in a minute. But if we don't talk about it now, we probably might forget. So
yeah, I know where you're coming there.
Exactly.
I forgot what I had for lunch yesterday.
Oh, man.
I don't even know if I had lunch yesterday. I'm having coffee this morning, though, in my fancy new mug that I have had now for 2 weeks.
You know, those things are sold out everywhere. So I was actually at Tim Hortons last night, and you cannot find them. So, yeah, okay. Is that your thumbnail?
That's my mug post. That's my new mug shot. I'm gonna take a screen capture of this and put it on my Instagram account or something. Probably will too.
No doubt.
You mentioned it. You probably should do it, right?
Probably.
Yeah. So I'm pretty pumped about this
topic.
I think it's going to be an interesting little discussion, and we're going to carry this. We'll probably talk about this in the front nine. We'll talk about it in the back nine.
Big one.
You know, do the whole show. It's run the gamut day. But let's get to the front nine so we can start talking about it. Front nine is presented by Metcalfe Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Plenty of time left in the golf season. Course is in really good shape. Book and pay online, save 10%. Of course, popular game passes are always available, 10, 20s, and 30s. Check out their event series for the last few fun tournaments that are available. Lessons with Nick Search, their head pro, can be booked, and enjoy the fine food of Hickory's Restaurant. Visit metcalfegolf.com.
I see Nick is actually putting on some clinics.
He is. Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on. And I'll be honest with you, this is an interesting year for Metcalfe. I have to find out a little bit more about what's going on, but I've been noticing in my little 9-hole, 3-hole, 4-hole sojourns a significant amount of work going on, particularly on the 9-hole course right now, and not just massive construction projects. There's been a few bunker projects, reshaping. So people know sometimes what happens at golf courses when you let the bunkers go a little bit, when the grass starts to grow, the bunker shrinks.
Yes.
You know, over time. It might have originally had a certain footprint for the bunker, but with grass growing in and the edges collapsing a little bit, the bunkers sometimes start to shrink a little bit, and you know, you got a lot of things going on. Bunkers are high maintenance. So a lot of golf courses kind of, you know, get rid of bunkers more than they try to rebuild them. But there's rebuilding of a few bunkers. It looks they seem to be doing a really good job with it. They're also reshaping some of the fairways around the greens with some runoff areas and things like that. So I'll have some more details once I have a chance to talk to Rob Howell about exactly what they're doing. Maybe I can get a look at some drawings.
Yeah.
some drawings.
Yeah, we're gonna hear more of that from more of the courses in the next little while, as obviously play starts to slow down.
Yes.
So those will be among the stories that we cover on flagstick.com as far as these plans and renovations and projects that are probably ongoing right now and looking ahead to 2026.
Now,
Yes,
I visited yet another golf
okay.
course.
I'm
Here's
curious
the thing.
now.
So here's the thing.
Yes.
It is the so Flagstick's almost 30 years old now. So
Yep.
as we go into next season, hopefully we get there. If we get into next season, we're 30 years in this business. And over the 30 years, I was having a conversation with my buddy Brandon, also my son, about golf courses that I played, because we're always talking. He's always talking about golf courses he wants to play, and I'm like, yeah, I've played there. Yeah, I've played there. Yeah, I've played there.
Yeah.
And in my mind, honest to goodness,
You feel like you're there yesterday.
I've played them all. In the Flagstick region, I have played every golf course in this region at least once, or at least 9 of the holes at a golf course that might have 27 holes or 18. Like for instance, Pakenham. I haven't played all 27.
I feel a butt coming.
But he mentioned I'd really like to play here just because I want to see what this golf course is all about. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that'd probably be fun. Wait a minute. I've never played there. It's the one that got away.
Uh-oh.
So we took a trip to Kempville.
You played Rideau Glen.
So
I've been on the property.
Been there numerous times.
Never actually
seen the whole golf course.
Interesting.
Which started as 9, and I'm not going to get into the details of it because you'll have to wait and see what's coming in order to get details. But it started as 9 in 1929.
Yeah, it's been around a while.
And then it became 18, and I loved it. I mean, it's not going to
so by any means. Footprint.
It's a very small footprint, very tight, but not like you're not on top of people. You don't feel like you're on top of people, and it's short, very short. Mm-hmm. It's an executive course. It's not championship par 72. I think it's par 68, but fun, like really fun, especially the original 9.
Cool.
The newer 9 is a little less
formally designed.
Yeah, it's a little flatter in some spots, a little more tree lined. Okay. But the greens are tiny. It's like one of those. It's just that type of golf course, and it's you got to play. Like,
here's the thing. I always say every golf course has value, and every golf course has something to offer. And no offense to the architecture geeks that are all over the place all the time and shooting down every single golf course because it doesn't reflect the golden era of design in the 1920s and whatever. You know what? It's a golf course. There is always some redeeming quality about every single golf course.
Yeah, 100%.
Whether you believe it or not. So, that's cool. I like
and
that.
It wasn't like we're not talking about conditioning out the wazoo here. This is like it's everything is fine. It's just,
I'm sure
the greens are a little slower and smaller and whatever.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And it serves a purpose in that area.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a very high older market, my age and above.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like for instance, like what's one of our favorite golf courses when we go up the Toronto way?
Mm-hmm.
What's one of our favorite golf courses if we can squeeze it in, because it's just a short course, but
Harmony Creek.
Yeah. And Brandon's played Harmony Creek with me 3 times now. And every time we go up there for a Toronto hockey tournament, as long as it's in October or earlier, we always, the clubs, we stop and play if we can squeeze it in. Now, hopefully we can't squeeze it in because that means you made it to the championship. But if you can squeeze it in, it means you didn't have a good weekend.
Sure.
But Harmony Creek is another one. It's, just fun.
Same kind of deal.
Sometimes golf courses are just fun to play. They're not like, oh my God, this is the conditioning here. It's like I could roll around on this carpet. Sometimes it's just fun to play a golf course.
Yeah. And I tell you what, over the years, there's been a lot of people that have said to me, I started on X as far as the golf course, and Henry Brunton, who went on to be the first Team Canada national team coach,
Rito Glen.
Rito Glen. That's where he got his start before he kind of went up the road to Rito View. So these golf courses are incubators for the game, and they serve a purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. You want to, if you're a junior golfer, where should you be playing? Right there.
100%.
Right there. We need more of that. Around here, so that the junior golfers don't feel so alienated when they go to play. That the beginners don't feel so alienated. We need more of that.
Yeah, they can have the run of the golf course and don't have to worry about too much. So cool. I love that. So
it was great. So more on that another time. You will find out at some point or another. But I continue to golf around.
You do. Me, not so much.
Yeah. So we're just good segue there. Here I am ramping up my golf. My body's feeling good. My joint, everything's good. And then I see on our thing here, Scott's a little banged up. It's like, what do you mean you're a little banged up? What is going on?
I played a bunch of golf this year, and kind of early in the year, my right elbow started bothering me a bit. And once it got to the point where it was sore during chipping, I knew it was a problem, like even picking up stuff and things like that. So I decided after I played on Sunday that it was maybe time to shut it down for a little bit, as hard as that is. Like almost depressing is what it is. Got a G-Jack event at the end of the month, so I think I'm basically done except for chipping and putting until kind of the 29th or so. So a few weeks. I just gotta give it a rest. I mean, that's the only thing that can really solve.
So you're saying there's not going to be a captain versus captain at the Ping Challenge Cup this year?
I'd like there to be, but we'll talk.
Well, it might be the only way I can win. You bandage your elbow up, and I'll just pop my naproxen and then my whatever else is I'm taking there.
Sad.
And wrap my wrists up, and
So anyway,
we'll be good to go.
Yeah, you know what? I can't be mad at the amount of golf and the quality of golf I played this year, but it's just bothering me a bit too much. So
I got a few of these. This one's for your elbow.
Yeah, no thanks. Lots of ice.
It up. I got one for my wrist. I think I have one for my knee. I wear them on my knees when I'm coaching. Look, I have two copper neoprene knee things that I wear on both my knees when I go out on the ice for coaching. So that I don't know if this is. I keep them in my coach bag because I don't forget them, because I have to wear them. Otherwise, after practice, coaching, all I'm doing is waddling around the ice for an hour and a half. I'm not exactly doing full on demos.
Oh boy! All right.
Okay. All right. Well, let's. That being said, just a couple of things just to kind of blow through, because I want to get to this topic.
Yeah.
But PGA Tour Fall Series starts with the Procore Championship this week. I'd say who cares, but probably all those that are playing in it. And of course, the first one I think is like the Ryder Cup team, which is an interesting thing, because I will say this. A lot was made over when the team was announced. A lot was made over the fact that Bryson DeChambeau would not be allowed by the PGA Tour to participate in the Procore Championship with the rest of his Ryder Cup team, which they felt was a little bit of a slap in the face, because he's part of the team and this is a team building thing. So here's my question:
he's not a tour member.
How is a PGA Tour event, which is an individual player event where they don't play with each other, a team building event?
Because it's a whole bunch of stuff they're going to do outside of it. Which
can they not do that? Anyways. Can they not do that without taking 12 spots away from players who are trying to keep their card for the following year? Yeah. Question.
Exactly.
Don't need an answer. It's kind of rhetorical. I think we know. So that's that.
Yeah.
Damn, Rory.
Yeah. Wow. That eagle.
What the heck?
That was so good.
And then to do, I mean, I don't know what was better, the eagle putt on 18 or that weird friggin' birdie putt in the playoff.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're saying is he won the Irish Open, his 45th worldwide win at the K Club on the
Crazy.
weekend. So yeah, pretty impressive. So
Very.
yeah.
And of course, the BMW Championship is now this week, and Corey Connors and Aaron Cockrell are playing there. A couple of Canadians. It's always good to see. Interesting. We were just talking the other day about Curtis Barkley, and we're like, I haven't heard a whole lot from Curtis. What's going on? What's he doing? And then all of a sudden, I start seeing some social media posts of him over at the.
He played last week in Ireland, and then he's playing at Wentworth, and the social media post him and Corey Connors hanging around on the range on Monday. So
that was good. I had to double take there for a second because a couple of the videos he posted were him swinging left-handed.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about, so I didn't check.
So I'm like, geez, Curtis, I didn't know.
I think somebody flipped those.
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, the LPGA Tour is in Ohio for the Kroger Queen City Championship, and Savannah Gruel is in the field.
Yep.
And she needs a bit of a bump there, to get that card. She's 146 on the money list right now, and only 110 of them.
She's in 110.
Sorry, she's 110 in the race to the CME Globe.
Yeah.
But she needs to push herself up there to, I guess, to retain her card for.
Yeah.
And lastly, but not least, is the OVGA junior team. Congratulations to them. 7th interregional title.
Yeah. Dominated.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Since I think that event's been going since 2012. So that's pretty good. So
pretty impressive. All right.
Yes. All right.
So let's talk. The year 2000.
What do you remember? Let's first off, it's like, scratch your brain, look back. First thing I think of is obviously the Y2K.
Y2K is the big one.
Yeah,
that kind of, and that my wife Trish, she was heavily involved with the company she worked for. They were heavily involved with some projects that could have been significantly affected by Y2K. That the panic and all that stuff.
It was the panic that Windows would not work after the year 2000. For people that are listening to this,
Armageddon.
No idea what we're talking about.
Armageddon coming. Y2K. The computers couldn't handle the rollover of the clock.
Yes, exactly.
To the 2000.
Yeah. So it turned out to be nothing. But at that time, though, I just came on full time.
Yes.
At Flagstick that year. But it was a huge time in golf because it was just like we had that last little ramp up in the late 1990s of a lot of people getting in the game. A certain player who we're going to mention a lot in the next little bit had kind of come onto the scene, won a couple of majors, but he was still splitting them with a whole lot of other players. There wasn't kind of that dominance level yet. And then 2000, just everything popped, and the golf scene went nuts, whether it was stuff on tour, whether it was stuff on equipment stuff that was happening out there. It just, everybody was talking about golf more than, I think it was probably one of the first times in probably our lives where it was people outside of the golf industry talking about golf.
It was the boom for sure.
Yeah, which told you that something was big going to happen. At least there was going to be a big, there was going to be that rise suddenly, that we hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, and I think that started, the bang that started it all was sort of the Tiger Slam. Era began. It was the start of the Tiger Slam. I mean, the Tiger Slam became a thing, but it started with the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, and I think
so. He had won 97 Masters and 99 PGA, which is the one he beat Sergio out at.
Yeah,
so
which is the iconic jump in the air, Sergio.
Right, exactly.
And that was young Sergio.
That was young Sergio. So, like I said, everything was sort of bubbling to the surface. We're like, okay, this guy's won 2 majors. Pretty cool. A lot of people had won 2 majors by that point. And, even in those years, 97, 98, 99, there was lots of, Marco Miro won 2 majors in 1998. So, it's like, there's lots of other players and things that were dominating. but 2000 was just insane. And you're right, it kicked off with that US Open where, he won by 15 at Pebble Beach, and it was like, oh boy, this is like the most dominant performance in the sport ever. What's this mean?
Well, and the thing is, what was interesting about that was not just the fact that he won by 15, but it was also the way that he did it.
True.
Like, he
Yes.
overpowered a golf course,
Yes.
a U.S. Open
Yes.
Pebble Beach. He didn't.
Yes.
He didn't overpower a Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
No.
Pebble Beach. It was a
Set up,
U.S.
yeah.
Open Pebble Beach, and he did things out of the rough, and like he did things that just no other person in the field could do then.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the golf course was crispy. It was hard. He was the only guy who ended up playing, finishing under par. It was one of those tests where people are like, this golf course is impossible. How's a guy winning and playing well, but two, how is he dominating it and controlling his golf ball the way he is? And it seems it was the first time I think everybody was like talking about it being like video game golf, where it just looked like, oh my god, this guy just
put the cursor, put the
exactly
the here, swing, and it goes there.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the first combination of let's do everything, and we've got all the skills. And while he was impressive at 97 in 97 at the Masters, and people were talking about how he played, they weren't 100% sure whether that was an anomaly or not. And he barely got past Sergio in 99. So this was that first sort of thing. Okay, this is something special. This is going to be something wild, and this guy's on a different level. And he almost looked like he almost embarrassed the rest of the field, is really what it amounted to. They looked like they were playing in a different tournament.
And then, but the thing is, as sort of this whole Tiger Slam situation started to develop, he then backed it up.
Yes,
like exactly. It wasn't that he came back. He won the Open Championship a month later.
Yeah.
But he didn't win it. He didn't just go and win it. He did it again. He won it by 8. And
set a record at 19 under par. So.
Yeah, and that was the introduction, or the coming out party of the Stinger. He played a golf course that had ridiculous amounts of bunkers that could cause havoc with any golfer in the field, and he didn't hit it in one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it was, so like you said, he won by 8, but here he was at the age 24, and he'd actually completed the career Grand Slam already.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, oh boy. And the cool part is you knew that at 24 at that time, you're like, okay, what's next? I mean, that was the exciting part, because it was like he had done things already that was like, okay, this guy's packed a career into just a few years already. Like, what is next for this guy? And I think that was the anticipation. And in that year, that summer, people were buzzing so much about his play and the domination and how he played. And I think everybody was like, when golf came on that year, and I can remember it distinctly, it was like when any tournament was on that Tiger was in, I mean, eyes were glued to it for probably the first time in a while, as far as golf was concerned, that it became must watch TV. And at that time, no internet, no streaming or whatever like that. So it was only broadcast television or whatever. So their ratings were just like going through the roof. And as a result of it, that was the trickle down effect was in every other part of the golf industry, as we know, be it media stuff that was happening, be it, like, as I said, the equipment industry, the golf courses were all of a sudden seeing that surge in that interest of young kids going, all right, now we've actually got a young guy who's a hero figure who's crossing over into other sports that kids would look up to, because no offense, most of the young kids were not looking up to Jack Nicklaus's and Arnold Palmer's. They didn't have that figure. And then on top of that, there was just a lot of other storylines that came with Tiger, as far as his background and growing up and what he'd been through. And there was still a race divide in golf. I mean, it was still prominent even leading into that. So all of a sudden, that was storyline as well, is like, okay, how is this going to influence golf out of the older white Anglo-Saxon dudes that are all playing golf, which were dominating golf at the time, is this changing the look of golf? And thankfully it was the start of that. And man, it was just a pot that was boiling over at the time for sure.
Well, and the thing is, when you look at what Tiger, when Tiger started doing what Tiger, he came out and the whole "Hello World" kind of thing,
Yeah.
and here I am, and how you talk about how he was looked up to by the younger kids looked up to him. Other players that were dominant or good players like Phil Mickelson, Ernie Els, like these guys, like Greg Norman was popular because of his persona, but the kids weren't looking up to Greg Norman.
No.
Fred Couples was another one where everybody's like, cool hand Freddie.
Yeah.
Freddie's Freddie, and everybody still loves Freddie, but Freddie wasn't being looked up to by the younger kids, and neither was Davis Love the Third or Brad Faxon. I mean, these guys were all good players. Right around that was sort of the end of their time, I guess. All the new ones coming in at the same time as Tiger, they didn't have the same. Phil Mickelson didn't have that. He was liked by people, but he didn't have that sort of. He had the sort of fairway blues, flipped up collar, no hat kind of deal going on there. I'm from
the country,
Upper California or whatever. It's
the country club kid or whatever like that.
But Tiger had that. Everybody eyeballs.
Yes.
Everybody was watching. Scotty Scheffler doesn't have that, and Scotty Scheffler doesn't have the personality to go along with the accomplishments that he's like. When I see people comparing, Scheffler did this at 24 and Tiger did this, it's like they're not the same.
No, like, they're not. They're not touching or crossing over the sport in a different way or reaching the fans in a different way. And all of a sudden, golf became cool. And I can imagine that, within a couple of years, then, high school golf teams, especially in the US, would start to like rise up, and kids that were playing other sports that would never play golf before were like, okay. It's okay to play golf because Tiger's cool. So it put a stamp on it rather than, again, being restricted to an old school country club type of thing where it's just, it's not a cool sport. He made it cool for sure.
Now, to put this into perspective before we jump on to the next little part of this, Tiger Woods was the leading money winner on the PGA Tour in 2000. He had $9 million.
Yeah.
And that included 9 wins.
Yeah.
And 3 of them were majors.
Yeah. Because he
$9 million.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Scheffler just won that for
9 million wins. At a tour championship.
You know what I mean? Like it's
because he followed up that U.S. Open and that Open Championship with that PGA Championship.
Yeah,
which that one was iconic as it was.
Yeah, and then the following, the 2001 Masters, which I guess completed what we would call the
Tiger Slam.
The Tiger Slam, where he held all 4 major titles at the same time.
Yeah. And the one at PGA, I think, that was the one that was, kind of the closest within that, because he ended up in that playoff with Bob May.
And his ball was miraculously in play after hitting a cart path down the...
that all sort of stuff. But, it was the Tiger marching at the golf ball and pointing at the ball as he made the putt, and everything was just like hyper. And
that's what Scheffler doesn't have. And frankly, that's what Bryson had that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Rory has it a little bit from time to time, but even you see Rory's emotion on the 18th. It was emotion, but not the same. Like it's different. It's I don't know.
I think it was a little bit more unbridled then, because the people, social media didn't exist the way it is now, so people weren't prone to as much criticism. So if they had a little bit of swagger and they did stuff, they were okay with it. Whereas now, if they do that, half the people freak out and go, "Oh, you're being just overly cocky and whatever." Whereas maybe at that time it might appear in print or broadcast or whatever, but it didn't really affect people the same or take on the same PR momentum. No. So I think at that time they could kind of be themselves and let their emotions out. And Tiger wasn't afraid to let his emotions out, which again became sort of, the everyman could relate to that, because it made it exciting. Whereas making a 12-foot putt wasn't all that exciting before, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, once you get the roar of the crowd in there, and he was bringing in the crowd like other people hadn't before, as far as the noise level of that. Lots of other people before that had big crowds, but big crowds that are just doing This
Yeah, the
is,
golf clap.
the golf clap is a lot different than the ones that were cheering and roaring the way they were for Tiger. And that just, again, that brought it up and made you feel a little bit more adrenaline even when you're watching.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we're up against the clock
Yeah,
here. So we want to start talking about Kari Webb.
sure.
So I want to take a break and then
Yep.
come back and get right into it right away. So let's do that. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this discussion about the year 2000 and some of the things that occurred in the golf at that time that kind of spearheaded where we are at right now. So you're listening to watching the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod.
How do you forge pure? With more pressure, more precision, more focus, more control. ZXI irons, pure forged, pure Srixon.
Alrighty then. Well, welcome back to the Flagstick podcast. We've got lots still to talk about, Scotty Mac.
We do. 2000.
I don't even think we scratched the surface. We'll try to kind of not call it skim through, but we'll try to get through some of the player related stuff a little faster than we did with Tiger was pretty significant, so you got to spend some time on that. But I don't want to ignore the LPGA
other big
dominance.
stories.
There's some other big stories in there, but I do want to get to the equipment part pretty quickly. So we're going to get to the back nine. And the back nine is presented by Falcon Ridge Golf Club. 27 holes of fun and challenging golf at great rates. Falcon Ridge is a golfing experience that you should not miss. They have the first TrackMan range facility in Eastern Ontario, which is TrackMan's all about exciting, easy to use features, provide the ultimate range experience for every golfer at every level. It's practice games and virtual golf. Should also note that if you want to get your memberships at Falcon Ridge right now, it is buy your membership for 2026 now and take advantage of whatever golf is left in the season of 2025, absolutely free of charge. So always a good deal this time of year if you're looking for a membership, because pretty much every, I shouldn't say pretty much every golf course, but in the case of Falcon Ridge, this is a promo that they run every year, and it's a great opportunity for those that want to become members of a golf course for next year to, get out and play some free golf at the end of this year.
You got it.
Like that. So let's visit falconridgegolf.ca for that. Okay. So we're going to talk. So we talked about Tiger Woods and the dominance and the Tiger era and everything, and that was kind of a big, big deal. So you had to spend some time talking about that. But 2000 was at the same time we were going to flip over to the LPGA Tour, and Australian golfer Kari Webb was having like a dominating year. We talk about major dominance. She won 2 major championships, the Nabisco Championship, which by the way is now the Chevron Championship, and the U.S. Women's Open. She won that Nabisco Championship by 10 shots.
Yeah.
And she won the U.S. Open that year by 5 shots. So it's like, she also had the other accolades that year too, like LPGA Tour Player of the Year,
second year in a row. Yep.
Yeah, 2 years in a row. It was sort of her time.
Yeah, it was. And
then others came along and started to challenge that dominance. But at that time, Kari Webb was like, if you're watching an LPGA Tour event, you most likely were seeing Kari Webb's name at the top of a leaderboard.
Yeah, she dominated in 99. Actually, she won the Du Maurier in 99, our Canadian event.
The Du Maurier.
She came to Royal Ottawa to discuss it as the defending champion the next year when it was held at Royal Ottawa.
Yeah.
She ended up winning 7 times in 2000. She did not defend at Royal Ottawa, but anyways, Kari won 1.8 million in a time when the purses were not huge on the LPGA Tour, but that shows what her dominance was. Not only was she getting those 7 wins, she was in contention. Like it seemed every time you turned around, she was in contention. And the cool part about Kari Webb is she became a very great ambassador for golf in Australia, funding various scholarships and programs that have supported young golfers who now play on the LPGA tour. So it's gone full circle for her, which is really cool. And she has played the occasional event in the last couple of years, which is nice to see her kind of back out there, even just in a ceremonial aspect of things. So
It's interesting because I was kind of going through the notes for this part of the discussion, and I just want to mention there were some first time winners in 2000, and just the names.
Yeah,
it was like, oh my
it's cool,
gosh,
eh?
Sophie Gustafson. I mean, Sophie was
She won
a good
five.
good player, but I mean,
Yeah, she went on to win 5 times on the tour. I actually got to caddy alongside her. She caddied after her career was done, and she caddied for Erica Brock Larson, and who Grace Saint Germain was paired with in 2017.
Oh, right, at the CP
at the CPKC. Now was the CP Women's Open or whatever, and Sophie was the caddy. So I got to spend 2 days with her, which is pretty cool. But yeah,
Sucks
she
to
had
be
her
you.
first win. He had her first win that year.
Grace Park also won that year. I mean, if anybody remembers Grace Park, and Laurie Kane, which everybody knows Laurie Kane.
Yes.
But it's just interesting to see, when you start to kind of dive backward, a little bit, and you start to see some of these events and these things that happen. You see these names. These were our people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we're golf people. We've been in this business for a long time, and crossed paths with a lot of golfers, a lot of people, industry people, but the modern ones, that's fine. That's what we do, so we know all these current people, the young pros, but these old pros, like I watch Champions Tour events on TV and I see, all these people, those are my people.
And I know that. Yeah. For sure.
Those are my people. It's like I said the other day when I was at the PGA, the 100th,
the anniversary,
the 50th anniversary of the Ottawa PGA, and I was sitting at a table with, Steve Hall and
the pros that you kind of were prominent.
And Barry Laffin was right next to me, and Andre Harvey and Tom Miller was over there, and Don Noseworthy was. It's like those are the people that were my people when I started Flagstick in '96 and kind of grew from there. Those were my pros. Yeah, they're all my pros now, but but anyways, that's
I still go back to the Demorier in 2000 that won a Royal Ottawa. And sorry. And it was the last year it was that, right? Because, it became, not a major, unfortunately, after that. It became the Women's British Open got its spot in the major. But, that was the year that Annika and Laurie Kane were leading heading into the final round. And then Meg Mallon overtook them. But I can remember being super, super hot and walking around there with Don Brennan
and his
Royal Ottawa on that Sunday. And him asking a former NHLer to, hey, can you go get us a drink? It's really hot in here. It was just like, but yeah, it's like, wow, was that 25 years ago? And yes, it was. So, but yeah, dominant by Kari, that year, and like you said, she did some amazing things. Annika, did get a major that year as well. So, she beat out Kari in a playoff at one of the other majors. So it was the Avion Masters, which is now the Avion Championship. But it wasn't. I don't know if it was a major then. So I think it was just a tournament then.
Probably shouldn't be a major now. Anyway.
Yeah.
So so switching gears a little bit, you got just money wise, again, you kind of go back to this, but this is not, I mean, we've talked about money, but it's not abnormal. It's not
about
surprising.
the money. It's about more the names that were.
Yeah. So we had the Nike tour, which became the Buy.com tour, which became the Corn Ferry tour. It's the renditions of it. Spike McRoy. It's $300,000 on the Nike tour, and which is a pretty decent dollar, but
it's one of those ones. It's like where'd that guy go?
Yeah, Mark Hensby,
who I watched on the Champions Tour. I actually saw him at the Canadian Open a couple of years ago. Watched him playing.
Tim Clark.
There's another prominent name. Obviously, went on to success on the tour, but his putting woes kind of let him down.
Yeah, Bryony Baird.
Yep.
It's just that's like talking about the Bryant brothers. Like, it's just. Ian Leggett was top 5 on that tour.
Yeah, and now went on to win on the PGA Tour, Canadian from the Cambridge area, Cambridge, Ontario, and then is now a director of golf at a club, Del Mar out in California.
I mean, back
So
then, Steve, the Canadian Tour, which
yeah,
obviously, became the Mackenzie Tour, which is now the
PGA Tour
PGA Tour
Americas.
Americas.
Yeah,
Steve Alker. I mean,
yeah.
Steve Alker, I think just won recently or on the Champions Tour.
Well, he's the most dominant player on the
Yeah.
Champions Tour now. He has won their money title, and he came into his own really on the Champions Tour. So many people don't realize that
Yeah.
25 years ago he was leading the money list in Canada here.
Aaron Oberhoser, who won, I believe,
Eagle Creek the year
first he
before.
won the Eagle Creek. I still remember, Kevin Haim working with Aaron on some things on his swing at the driving range at Kevin Haim Golf Center. And they sort of got to know each other really well there. And Aaron's gone on to some, prominence as a
broadcaster now.
Broadcaster now. Chad Wright, Rob McMillan.
Yeah,
and
Canadian, works for
Jason Bone. Jason Bone
Bone
probably became more popular for the $1 million hole-in-one.
Yes,
that he got. That's sort of where, but he was fifth on the money list that year. But I remember first hearing about him with the $1 million hole-in-one, which $1 million for a guy who's making 65 G's on the Canadian Tour is
yeah, and he won that $1 million. Actually, that's why he turned pro. He won that in college, and won that. But I can remember even probably 9 years after that, running into Jason. He got to be good friends with a couple of the Canadians that we know, and I remember being at Turning Stone with him and then talking to him about his time on the Canadian Tour, because he shot 50, I think it was 58 or 59. He shot at Sarnia at the event, and at that time it was the lowest round ever shot on the Canadian Tour. So yeah, but those names obviously gone on to other things, and some in success in golf and some in success in other areas of the game.
All right, so the Wayback Machine takes us back to the year 2000, which we've already identified as it was a very significant period in golf equipment history.
Yes,
golf manufacturers at that time were really starting to push the envelope a little bit, push the boundaries of the materials that they were using, the designs, and particularly in the driver category, which still happens today. You still see more technological advancements and changes in the driver category. Constantly trying to find more distance, more forgiveness for golfers.
Yeah, it was about five years before that where, the Great Big Bertha came out. And that was kind of the first, and then the biggest Big Bertha and whatever. And finally we had we were up to
biggest
greatest. That was a joke back then, right? Yeah. But, we're still talking about a driver that was 250 cc. So, it's barely a 3-wood now.
I know.
And so, they were pushing, but it was just like, all right, 2000 again, because it was like, and I still remember this PGA show going down there, and, it was that time where it was like turn of the century. There seemed to be like a switch, because it was the turn of the century, that it was going to be like this era that was coming and wild and all these, titanium. Yes, it had been around, but it was like, all right, how are we going to, really push this along? And we saw a few companies really starting to push that along, as they all were they were pushing to make bigger and bigger drivers at the time, because didn't have the restrictions that we do now.
Yes.
Yeah. And to the point of, I can still remember a few years, I think it was prior to that, because there wasn't the restrictions. There was a manufacturer that came out. Remember a 600cc?
Yep, I remember it.
And the guy who designed it still lives in Canada, and his company is gone. But it was a 600cc driver, 600cc driver, and it was like, man, this thing's ridiculous. So from a playability standpoint, we had no idea that we were going to get to a limit that was at 460. But at the time, 360 was kind of the size. And I actually found another, I wish I had that here, another magazine from that era, and he had some of the ads and stuff that were in it. And that was kind of the spot, and people thought, oh, they're not going to get any bigger than this. And
yeah, they did.
Yeah, and this is when a time like, TaylorMade, this is when they first started to make that big push into the titanium market. And
Yep.
they obviously dominated the driver market for quite some time, but this was their 300 series,
Mm-hmm.
which, had three different size drivers for various types of players. But, we started to see more. They had copper stuff as it was, but now
Yeah.
we started to see more of it in a larger size. And again, it was like, we knew at this time 100% that there was no chance that persimmon or anything that was ever coming back.
No.
And
No.
now it was going to be an arms race, as we also started to see manufacturers kind of buoyed by large financial pushes. We started to see
Mm-hmm.
different types of equity funds and stuff take an interest
Oh my
in the
gosh,
golf
wasn't it
business,
crazy?
and they were pushing, and they were throwing money at stuff. And we know, a few years before that, things were really peaking, at PGA shows and so forth. But this was a time where it would just seem like, golf was, hey, let's just throw every bit of money at it, whether it was golf courses. Like, and we haven't even talked about golf courses. We're not going
No.
to on this particular one because we just don't have time. But this was a time that when anybody had any type of somewhat credible golf idea, they could probably walk into a bank and somebody would throw money at them.
Yeah, to do it because they figured it was going to be a hit.
Yes,
and the reality of it is that if you weren't, for the most part, now this with some companies later on that this did work, but they figured out a different way of going about the marketing of their products. But for the most part, if you weren't Callaway, TaylorMade, Hogan, whatever, Ping, you weren't lasting very long, no matter how much money. Because we saw that with what was the company? Pure Spin came out for a while. I don't remember what year that was, but I think it was a little bit later.
Burroughs
with the driver from the planet Uranus.
Javelin Blue. There was a million
Javelin Blue with the custom, the
Hurricane golf.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's tons. Where
are all these people now?
Yeah.
They took the bank money at the golf. The golf boom said, "Here's your money. Go build the $1 billion idea." And the $1 billion idea lasted less than 10 years, and if that, and it was done.
Goldwyn. I mean, we'll probably do a show.
Oh my God, we'll have to.
We'll do a show sometime that talks about kind of this history.
Where are they now, or kind of thing,
or what ended up happening to them, or whatever.
Where'd they go?
There was a lot of people taking a gamble at this time, and some things stuck and some things didn't. That's for sure.
I'd be curious to talk about the things that did stick.
For sure.
Because there are some that did, they did it right, or they just had the right product, and it performed, and they managed to make it work. And then there was a ton that,
or their product was good enough that one of the other companies bought them up, because they felt their idea was worth it. Just
they bought the technology is basically
and we saw that with a few companies just prior to this, be it the Ornamars or Adams or stuff like this. But in that year 2000, now we were seeing we were seeing some of those companies that had been taking those wild shots sort of disappear. They're around for a couple of years, lots of sizzle, end up being a lot of duds sitting in pro shops here and there. But the companies that had built themselves up, the Callaways, the Titleists, the Pings, the TaylorMades, they were having success. But we also were starting to see some emerging stuff. I will say, I didn't include this in the notes, but we started to see some emerging of brands that would eventually be bought by other brands. There's one that's sitting on your hat right now, that were in JDM markets, the Japanese domestic market, and that would eventually have some influence and get into the US market. But they did it more on a slower basis. Not every product was a boom and then a bust, or a boom and then it stuck. There was a lot of like slow growth that was kind of within this era where, there was brands that were trusted by companies that took like a slower growth strategy, depending more on engineering. This came on the end of an era that a lot of the things were about marketing and not about engineering. And I think we've seen that flip back to that a fair bit in the last little while as far as the engineering. Although, at the time we saw things like, that Odyssey white hot insert, and Odyssey was a different company that time. It wasn't, it wasn't owned by Callaway yet.
That was pioneering.
It
because
was
that launched everybody else sort of into that category
market. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they came out and had that white hot insert, which, at that point, most of the putter models at that time did not have inserts. They were hard faces. We saw some milled putters, but it didn't have the same type of prominence that it does now. But then, seeing that urethane, those elastomers, we saw that, eventually the 2-ball putters and stuff, that soft feel, and people where it sort of clicked. And I can remember it from the retail days and stuff like that, is that, the average golfer could still play their hard distance golf ball, but it would still feel soft enough around the putting green.
Which is always a big deal, right? If you did a Pinnacle Gold golf ball and you're putting with the, even the best ping putter, it still felt like you were clicky, really clicky.
Exactly. So
and
then we saw
insert putters kind of softened that and made it say, hey, I can still get my distance ball and get lots of nice touch and feel on the greens.
Yeah, because we had seen a number of companies start to play around with inserts, but they didn't quite have that sort of buzz about them. And then so it's a combination of engineering and marketing that ended up being the success story for a number of these companies as they pushed along here. But I think the engineering always lasted more than more than just the marketing aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about putters, but there was also in the iron market, there's some significant changes there with with Callaway introducing the X series, which was the X14s, and the steelhead line, I guess they call it, oversized irons with that.
And that was
when Callaway had the big berth irons, we always talked about the 360-degree undercut channel. That was their big thing. And then the steelhead irons kind of came along and kind of continued to work but
refined
that
the
technology.
Look, right?
Yes, because it didn't look like this clunky. I don't remember when was the VAS iron?
That was in the 90s, 92.
Okay. Man, that thing was ugly.
Yeah, I know, but when you look at some of those cavity backs, I mean, early on, some of those cavity backs, I mean, we joke around that they look like ice cube trays because these massive cavities or whatever.
Yeah.
But they sort of like, at that point, it was like, make them as big and chunky as possible because that means forgiveness or whatever. And what they started to realize, and the Steelhead, the X14, and a number of other models from other companies started to realize is like, oh, we need to do that, but we need to make them look decent.
Yes.
Which means they had to start dealing with, okay, how are we going to make this out of not just steel? Because if we do this in steel, as far as the mass, it has to be big. So this is just before they started to realize it's like, okay, we need to maybe use tungsten or something like that to refine the look of it, but have the mass that was there. But they realized that, not every golfer wanted to just look down and see something that looked like a foot.
Well, the thing is,
like a golf club.
I feel like this was the time frame too, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this was the time frame too, where the companies would release in Callaway's case, they released the X14 steelhead iron, but then they would release an X14 Tour series.
Yes, exactly.
And then all these clubs started. TaylorMade would do the same. You'd have the Super Steel, and you'd have the Tour series of it. And the Tour series got rid of the offset on the club, and it cleaned up the top line a little bit because that's what the Tour players wanted to see. They didn't want to see this foot on the end of the shaft. They wanted clean lines, square. They didn't want the offset and the Tour series. And now you see it with almost every club company. Now you have this Tour, and then you have this, or you have a series like in Strixon's case. They have the ZX. ZXI, they have the 5, the 4, and the 7, and it's and then they have the blades and so on. So you start to see that categories. We got something for everybody, and this was kind of like, instead of having we have the big berth irons, we have the big berth of Tour series irons, and
exactly.
So that the Tour guys
because Ping did that as well. They had
Ping Tour
and an oversize in their i3 series, so it was the same kind of thing. It's like, let's have an oversized model, let's have a blade model.
Yeah.
And this fell on the heels of previous to that, Titleist had their DCI, which was their dynamic cavity back iron, but they came out with their 990B, which on tour what happened was there was a lot of A's and B's tended to be models that were tour only and stuff like that or whatever. So you're right, we started to see that that designation between what we were seeing kind of for the average player and what was for the better player, and companies were willing to kind of put that out there, whereas prior to that, as you said, they'd have a single model and say, here you go. So
yeah, exactly. No. Okay, so we've talked about drivers, we talked about irons, we talked about putters, and we talk about the golf ball. We always talk about the golf ball, and there's always been innovation in a lot of things with respect to the golf ball. Sometimes not necessarily the ball itself, sometimes the packaging. This one was really interesting because I distinctly, this is probably one of the most memorable PGA Tour shows that I had been at. And there was always these big media events, back in the day. Like, I haven't been to a PGA.
Big one.
This was huge.
Yeah,
this was
at the Hyatt Regency, I think. Yeah,
down the basement. And
big ballroom.
And it was huge room, and it was like there was a lot of promotion leading up to the release of Callaway's new golf ball.
Yeah, because
their
at the
introduction
time,
into the market, they weren't in the golf ball market at the time. This was completely brand new, and they talked about introducing Rule 35, but they didn't say what it was.
No, exactly. That was the thing. It was like, what is this all about?
What the heck is Rule 35? And people are looking up in the rule book Rule 35, which there was 34 rules at the time. There was 34 rules, so it's like this is Rule 35. And what was Rule 35? Well, we were all about to find out. Yeah. We're all in this room at the Hyatt, and there's like thousands of people in this room. And they had the Callaway people marching in with the bags. Yeah. And inside the bag and then this whole big press thing, and they introduced the Rule 35 golf ball.
Yeah, which we're like, what's this all about?
And they had two versions. They had a firm feel and a soft feel. The whole premise behind the Rule 35 golf ball was to take all of the guesswork for selecting your golf ball, all of the technical side of it, all the compression and dimple patterns and all that stuff, was to completely eliminate all of that and give you two choices. The red and the blue. Do you want to? This is like, and I don't even think this was around the time of the Matrix.
I've got one.
You take the red pill or the blue pill. Yeah. I still have an Energel container
from 99.
I don't have the balls, but I have the container.
You can buy them on eBay.
What a crazy idea that was. Anyway, but and the Rule 30, they came in 4-ball sleeves.
Yes, 4-ball sleeves. Again, they were trying to be a little bit different, right?
Everything was about bucking the traditions, bucking the norm. We used to buy our balls. You used to buy your Titleist DT 80s, DT 90s, DT 100s. Your Pro Vs came in 90s and 100 compression. The
Pro V came that year, which we're going to get to in a minute.
So. You had all these compression balls. I got to pick the right compression. Well, this was like no. There's no compression.
Right.
It's soft feel and it's firm feel. That's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
People bought the golf ball. It didn't last,
but it also,
as far as that ball went.
Yeah, but it also led the way for that change from the industry. Because you remember Titleist was like the DT, so they had 90s and 100s, but they didn't.
That was the big ball. The DT was the
right. But I mean, it was like it was the way that forward for most of the other companies to all of a sudden started to all drop the compression ratings.
Yeah.
And they started looking at the models. So, when Titleist brought their Pro V1 out in October 2000, they ended up having a win at Las Vegas right then. And that was when Pro V1, and eventually they had the Pro V1X, and there's no compression designation. So companies started to look at what Callaway did at that time and start to go, oh, okay, we'll have a tour ball or this ball or whatever, but we're not even going to throw that numbers out there because what they found in a lot of cases was that was just confusing. Because you can remember at retail, people would walk in and go, what's the 90 mean? What's 80 mean? What's 100?
And we had to carry, like we literally had 3 SKUs
Yeah.
for DT balls.
Yeah.
They all look packaging all look the same. The only difference was the color of the number 80 on it
Right.
on the box.
Yeah.
And then they would always color code the ball, right? So
Yeah.
the hundreds would be the black number
Right.
and so on and so forth.
90s were the red. But I think the biggest thing to take from this though is that, for Callaway, we're gonna say, it wasn't the biggest success. They spent a ton of money on it.
Mm-hmm.
How it impacted the industry though was the designation, as you said, that firm feel, softer feel, where they started to realize it's like, okay, the consumer is starting to change. And again, we go talk about, the Tiger and the influence and stuff there. It was like, okay, now we have to kind of get out of the way of ourselves as an industry and this speak that we have this certain language or whatever, and start to simplify things a little bit. So the reason why I included this in there is not for the prominence of the ball, because again, it didn't become the most popular golf ball in the market or whatever, but it changed kind of what happened in the industry of how people started to look at things and started to realize it's like, okay, you know what, we can show a certain amount of stuff from behind the curtain, but not too much. Right.
Yeah.
The person that wants it, let them dig for it. But the general consumer, it's like, okay, this is too much. This is too much.
You walk into a golf shop, you need to buy a dozen golf balls.
Right.
You shouldn't have to have a gajillion questions for the person working in the shop about which golf ball is the golf ball you should be using. It should be pretty easy to figure out what golf ball I should be using, and those that should be playing Pro V1s and high-end golf balls, and those balls that probably should be buying the 18 packs.
Sure. But
which are great value, by the way.
I think there's something for everyone. And I think this was just 25 years ago. It was just a time when, companies they had the freedom because they had the money to start taking some risks,
right?
Which was, good and bad, because, with risk, obviously, sometimes it leads to failure, sometimes it leads to success, but at least they were in a position where they could start to take some risks. So, that's what we saw kind of in that 2000 era. There's other companies followed up after that and tried to maybe take advantage of the market a little bit and use that influx of cash to do stupid things. But certainly it really pushed the industry forward, especially from an equipment
and what we see now in the market is the risks are more calculated.
Correct. Exactly.
You don't see these vast leaps in technology that don't seem like they're going to work. They seem to sort of just slightly tweak from one cycle to the next, whatever that cycle is. We went through this phase of adjustability, and now you're sort of seeing how that is being tweaked a little bit here and there, and how companies are figuring out, because they have to keep evolving.
Sure, of course.
They have to keep coming up with something new for the industry. Otherwise, what happens if they don't do something new? Obviously, then people don't buy new equipment. I mean, the reality is people and the consumer is smarter. And they're not just willy-nilly throwing money at the latest and greatest if it's not something significantly different or improved upon what they already have. I think the manufacturing industry is smarter with the way they spend their money.
Yeah, they're doing things that are more rooted in reality. So as fun as that was in 2000, where people are just taking big swings, is really what they were doing.
Era.
They were taking big swings at the time. So, unless you were there and you were experiencing that, especially from the industry side of it, and saw, it's like, wow, okay, all right, they're really giving it a go. Whereas now, obviously, as you said, more conservative, based on engineering, more planned out. They've got more data. They know the consumer better. At that point, they didn't really know who the potential consumer eventually was going to be, because it was growing so quickly. So that was the idea. It's like, okay, well, we got all these new consumers, how can we sort of bamboozle them and make them go, wow, and take market share. Whereas now it's much different, but it was an interesting time. It was a cool year.
It was.
And, we saw some introductions that maybe if the product didn't stick, some things about the product helped change the industry and the way that we, are seeing retailing and marketing of golf equipment today. So as a result of it, it was an epic year, not only for, equipment, but as we said, for players and a whole lot more. And we didn't even touch on fashion. So, which, I think
we want to touch on.
I don't know if we want to touch on fashion from 2000. That's for sure.
No, I don't know. Hey, but look let's just say this. Is there, so we won't touch on fashion, but before we drop the end there, get to the end of the show, was there anything about the fashion in 2000 that was a standout?
I don't know if there's stuff that was a standout. It was funny because I was looking at a magazine from 1998 just yesterday, and it was like, wow, there's just like, again, it was the Tiger stuff. It was Nike. It was a couple of those companies that were non-golf finally getting into it. But if you looked at the clothing itself, it was bad. It was just a lot of cotton.
It was a lot of weird patterns and shirts. And here's the other thing I noticed, I remember about that timeline is if you look at the way we wear our golf clothing today.
Oh yeah, much different.
Tiger wore like the baggiest shirts.
Yeah.
Like everything was big. It's like if you wore a large, you wore an extra large because you wanted to loosey-goosey in it,
Sure. But it was just big and sloppy. Right. And the thing is, we are seeing some influence back of that, some of the Asian market and stuff like that with, chunky shoes, some wider styles and stuff like that. So we are seeing that in some of the younger market, but it's a lot tidier than it was. It wasn't just a big garbage bag or a wind shirt that was 10 times too big.
And
unfortunately, that's the legacy of 2000, where it's like, okay, it was just big. There was no style to it. That was the problem.
I agree.
So it was just, again, they threw it out there hoping somebody would buy it, and it didn't really have to put a lot of thought into it, sadly.
No. All right. Well, we'll save fashion, and maybe we'll save maybe we'll look at possibly other golf related products that would have been introduced in 2000 that revolutionized the industry or tried to revolutionize it and didn't. But we'll save that topic for an expanded version of this topic for another show. Awesome. That was good. It was a lot of fun. Love to reminisce about the old days. But that's it for us for this week.
You got it.
Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks to all our sponsors, Metcalfe Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Club, and our presenting sponsor this week, Srixon Golf. Srixon Performance is more than just a number, it's a feeling. One that starts with the Forge, introducing ZXi irons with iForged, a groundbreaking achievement in shaping, pressing, and heating. It's taken Srixon feel to an entirely new level. ZXi irons from Srixon, how forged should feel. Visit Srixon.ca for the full lineup of Srixon products. Certainly do hope that you've been enjoying the show. Be sure to follow us across all of our social media networks on Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts, and don't forget the YouTube channel. I know I sound like a broken record, but don't forget it. Like us and click the notification bell to make sure that you never miss a single episode. Get over to flagstick.com. That's where we put up great golf content every day. And be sure to subscribe to the Flagstick Digest newsletter. If you haven't already, you need to. We'll send it out 3 times a week to you. And there'll be great stuff in there that'll keep you informed and up to date. And it's free. And everybody likes free. Well, that's it. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. But until next week, I am Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.